I think it's time to start, so we can slowly start introducing ourselves while some people are joining. And yeah, as people join in, start discussing some topics in a bit as well. So first of all, we'll run a quick round of introductions. I'm going to introduce myself. So my name is Maris. I work at scandiweb as a business development exec. I have nearly 15 years of e-commerce experience under my belt. I've been a merchant for nearly a decade, and later I joined scandiweb on the agency side. So my role is to help merchants figure out technology information and figure out how to move projects forward. And what we have here today is some of our smartest and best of the best that we have in our team. And yeah, we will be trying to share our insights and information about Black Friday, how to prepare, how to do. But first of all, I'd like everybody to run a quick intro as well. So Lena, maybe start with you.
Yes, hello everyone. So my name is Lena, and I'm head of traffic acquisition in scandiweb. In practice, it means that working with SEO and PPC directions. Yeah, if we are speaking about past experience, then, well, quite many years in digital marketing as well, in different touch points. Yeah, and eventually focused on SEO and also PPC now in scandiweb. So we'll try to cover this marketing communication part during our today's conversation.
Great. We also have Rainis here, so you can do a quick one.
Hello, everyone. I'm here in scandiweb, the head of the growth team. So basically, we are we have several teams working on helping clients grow their e-commerce businesses. So also digital marketing, SEO, conversion optimization, data insights. So my passion is to oversee all of these different teams, put together new teams, and basically focus on anything that can help our clients grow their businesses, and also just provide better user experience and customer experience in general to our clients and customers. And my passion personally is also data. So I want to make personalized and really insightful data insights to our clients, and generally set up good understanding about data for data ecosystem as such. Yeah.
Well, thanks. We also have our head of the user experience and conversion rate optimization, Olga.
Hello, everyone. Well, Maris, you kind of introduced what I'm doing already. Thank you for that. Yeah, so optimizing customer experience and user experience is something that I do here for quite a while already in scandiweb, and I'm going to be the one, I guess, answering questions related to that. So I think that's more or less it.
All right, and we're also joined by one of our co-CEOs and partners in the company, Glebs. Hi, Glebs.
Hi, guys. Yeah, today I'll mainly help to answer on the technical questions, but overall, I have experience touching the e-commerce business from all the points, starting from tech implementation to later on getting traffic in and ensuring conversions are coming. So happy to be here, and great we are in such company, since it's not frequently when we can meet even internally with all the people. So great we are meeting and discussing such important topics today.
Great, thank you, Glebs. And you're absolutely right. We don't really get to meet in such a company, and especially have time to discuss such interesting topics as Black Friday. So what is Black Friday? Do we know some history about this? Where is this originating from? Is it a myth, or what's the, where did it come from? So I did a little bit of Google search, and apparently somewhere in 1960s in the great country of America, we had there was a big event that was a sale event, and there was a football match, different circumstances, and just people came together and started grumbling about and did a lot of destruction in the stores and shops. And then from that point, it's called apparently the Black Friday. I don't know whether it's a myth or not, but that's what Google says. So and apparently, so this one day after the Thanksgiving day, from then on, is called the Black Friday, and a lot of the retailers are doing sales, and obviously it's originating from the US. Nevertheless, the event has become a worldwide phenomenon, and it's no longer exclusive to the United States. Obviously, Europe, Asia, wherever you go, you get the Black Friday and the deals, and it's in its own right the biggest sale event of the year. And what we see from a lot of the e-commerce merchants as well, I know for a fact there's been a few companies who generate nearly a half of their revenue just on that one day or that one event alone, or at least in a month of the Black Friday, November sales, etc. so forward. So definitely a notable event, and definitely a notable event for all merchants online and offline to prepare. So this year is no different in terms of the fact that the Black Friday is coming, but nevertheless, probably a good discussion kickoff. What should we concentrate on, and what should we think about? Maybe you want to kick this off.
Hey, Mari, yeah, thank you. I would actually mention as well that it's quite significant because it could be kind of considered as also the start of the holiday season, and the holiday season obviously for shopping and for e-commerce is a major thing, and especially in the B2C segment. So consumer e-commerce sites, typically, at least most of the revenues are generated during the Q4 or the holiday season, right? So I would say it's pretty significant in that way. And if we talk about when to start preparing for Black Friday, I would say you start preparing right after the Black Friday. So you start preparing for the next year's Black Friday once you have just gone through the Black Friday of this year. So so hopefully also a lot of you have started actually doing that and are ready and are just maybe polishing your plans and your email campaigns and your marketing general strategy for Black Friday, because certainly you don't want to start planning it in the last minutes, and you want to be fully ready, not only for Black Friday, but as I mentioned, for the whole holiday season as such, because as I mentioned, yeah, it typically is the most, let's say, busy e-commerce, busy time of the e-commerce season. So,
yeah. So this year is a bit interesting, and especially in Europe, because of the geopolitical situation and the changes that has been applied there, because of the increasing prices. It's very much hard to tell. Is this Black Friday going to be different from the one before? Do we need to think about it differently? Are we expecting more sales, less sales, because people are likely a lot more wary about the expenses and the consumerism? Lena?
It's a very good question and very tricky to answer, because actually there are different opinions about this topic. And on one hand, well, in Europe, we see that prices are going up, and that we expect that people might buy less. At the same time, quite a few people might actually look for Black Friday to use the opportunity to buy things cheaper and in advance, because you don't know what will happen next year, as indeed we are living in a quite unpredictable times. So yeah, I believe that this will be the Black Friday where different outputs can be possible, and also depending on the region quite a lot.
Olga, you know that obviously the differences from year on are changing together with trends and whatever people like at the time. What do you think is needed to start warming up the audience, and what promotion strategies should merchants start thinking about, both considering the year-on changes and in general?
Well, there are different ways how merchants can start preparing. First of all, they need to be very much aware of the specifics of their particular industry. I mean, the way how you will prepare in the apparel retail is one way, and if you sell electronics, it's something else. And if you have a subscription-based company, I don't know, selling food boxes, it's going to be a completely different story. So I think, first of all, you need to be quite aware of what you're doing and not blindly copy some best practices and try to tailor them particularly to your industry and to your field. I think you should prepare quite in advance and make sure that, first of all, technically everything is set up quite well on the site, and the site can handle the volumes that going to come. Second of all, you can be actually informing users that the Black Friday is coming up. There's quite a lot of merchants implementing those interesting strategies where they are doing the surprise Black Fridays like a week earlier, just sending out emails, or they are on the contrary starting to collect emails to have this exclusive access to the sales few hours or few days earlier, to kind of get either bigger stock of the products that they can get, or they can even get just bigger sale or earn some extra points in like loyalty program. So first of all, you need to define yourself what's going to fit your industry best, and also inform your customers that the Black Friday is around the corner, that they should sign up for it to receive notifications, email notifications. Some companies even suggest adding them to the calendar to receive updates and reminders that the Black Friday is starting on their sites. So I could go on and on, so anybody can interrupt me.
Gleb, from a technical perspective, so when is the good time to start preparing? When do you start preparing your site for Black Friday from the technical perspective? Let's start with infrastructure.
Yeah, usually like Black Friday is the most common deadline what we hear from merchants when they start building the website. Oh, I want my new website be ready before Black Friday. I believe that's kind of at least 8 out of 10 cases what we hear. So merchants really working hard throughout the year to ensure website is in its best shape before it. And what we see very common, that there is a code freeze happening, like starting from the first dates of November. So there are no new big features being released. And that's one of the practices what we suggest doing for everyone to really slow down during this period and release your last big features in October. Do proper testing on everything, especially payment methods. For example, buy now, pay later is expected to be very popular payment methods, especially in this cost-saving environment what we have here in Europe nowadays. So be sure that you test it as real users like would behave at this date. So yeah, that's the first thing, to do the code freeze. Then when the code freeze is there, you can start actually, your development team can do the things in the background and start preparing for for maybe to release the features somewhere later in December, in January, in February, whenever it is. From infrastructure standpoint, Marius, as you mentioned, we for sure need to be confident that the website will behave well when there are much more customers coming and much more transaction coming in a single minute. So penetration testing needs to be done really timely. If that's the first big sale for your store, yeah, you can't just assume it will behave well. What a lot of merchants are doing, they are running some smaller sales before to test out the website. Maybe, do the local sale for a limited number of a customer or limited to the few hours, not only to test it as a marketing practice, but to test the infrastructure and the website from this perspective as well. But even if you have auto sync in place, even if you have all the best sedans, we know things. So proper penetration testing in advance and the best testing it with a real customer, like with limited number of the customers, but trying to replicate this peak. That's like the main points.
Probably also,
I know, like, yeah, Rainis, Maris, I know, like, you guys work also quite well into tech, so please drop on the points.
Yeah, I mean, there are certainly also some things that are special in terms of once you have these big sales in Black Friday and throughout. Actually, Black Friday, we need to actually consider it about like all the 4 days, right? Black Friday through the weekend, through the Cyber Monday, right? And one of the also aspects that we see that are quite important actually to take care of, even if you do code freeze early on, which is probably like the last limit would be maybe 2 weeks before the Black Friday. You should do maybe some last major deployments. But what you would need to want to look at as well is to actually have your development team still available 24/7 probably during the sales, because once you start investing big marketing budgets to reach customers and reach audience, you want to make sure that obviously the site is working well, because that can either make millions or lose millions, right? So you would want to have people ready, and you would want to have also certain monitoring in place and alert systems in place that can actually trigger any alerts if something is going wrong. So you really need way more extra attention to the site and the performance of it during this time, because as we spoke, it's super important. Yeah.
And I think some from outside choose to build scalable infrastructures, meaning that they auto scale up and auto scale down as the traffic spike increases, and that's something important in the preparation for the website, because at times it is impossible to predict what is this increase going to be, and then static servers can be bottlenecks for scaling, and obviously it's not something that you can scale right away. And there, if you have an auto scalable infrastructure built on something like AWS, for instance, then that a lot of the time is at times lifesaver, and you don't technically have to be 100% sure or aware how much traffic actually you're going to get. So even if you get an unexpected luck with more people than you wanted, you're well prepared from that perspective. And infrastructure, of course, is not something that you can start think about 1 week before Black Friday, or not even 1 month before Black Friday. That's something that needs to be in place way before that. And of course, Black Friday is the biggest sale event of the year, and spikes are expected everywhere. So so leading into when to start preparing for the Black Friday, and Renis, you already touched the topic here that you start preparing as soon as the one sale is over. You start preparing for the next year, and as beautiful as it sounds on the paper, oftentimes it's not the case. And I believe that we get requests every year that I want this or that feature before Black Friday, and that's probably some weeks before the actual event. So good idea, bad idea doing things the last moment? I don't know, Glebs, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah, I think, like, from this preparation perspective, that's really worth to split it into sections, right? There's technical preparations, marketing preparations, etc. So while on the tech side we really work very hard throughout the year, usually you do not, from the marketing perspective, you do not think about it like during the whole year. You have many other campaigns going on. What we see from the statistics, actually, shoppers on practice, they start looking for Black Friday deals some 30 days in advance. So it means that you need to be ready technically before that, for sure, but you also need to be ready from your marketing at least 2 months in advance, at least. One of my lovely tactics for this audience preheating or warming up. It's actually working with the emails and start collecting the customer emails very early, really like 1 month in advance. That's I think the best timing to start preheating the audience on practice, meaning not just running random sales, but we actually look at the Black Friday as a party, right? So Black Friday is a big party. What usually you do before the big party? You do the pre-parties, and you want to really communicate well throughout all the pre-parties that the big party is coming. So during the smaller pre-parties on your store, you're collecting the emails, gathering some more information. Usually that needs to be first-party information, since you can't trust cookies anymore, right? Retargeting may not work so well. So you're getting first-party data later on to bomb it on a very big party date as such.
While these while the audience is being warmed up through email campaigns and some other instruments that you mentioned here, there are aspects of user experience that need to be in place for the period of the sale. So walking towards you, Olga, what are some of the most important things that the merchants need to look out for, and what is that they need to prepare to communicate the experience during these sale periods and sort of to set the right expectations for the consumers?
Actually, I wanted to also add to what Gleb has said on those 30 days. When we analyze user behavior post Black Friday, we see quite often that a lot of people come to the stores few days in advance. They select the products they want, they add those products to the cart, and then when the sale hits, they just go to the cart, they click buy button. So I think for the consumers on the Black Friday, they generally are very driven and they're very emotional. Those are in many cases emotional purchases, so they want to get them done very quickly. Also because a lot of sites use those different scarcity tactics and communicate different ways to make people fear that they might miss out on some particular offer. So I think it's quite important to allow people to build those pre-saved lists of products. It means that they can have different wish lists on the site, on one side, depending like Christmas gifts, this I'm going to buy for myself, etc. You can also remarket and send them emails before the Black Friday. Hey, actually tomorrow the sales hits. Do you remember you wanted this pair of shoes or something? This is one thing. And another thing is good to keep before the sale hits. And when you see that users are actively adding products to the cart, but not yet buying, prompting them into creating an account to allowing saving the items for a longer period of time, because again, we cannot be fully dependent on the cookies to have these items in the cart when users come back. So you can show different notifications, like if you're not ready to buy yet, save your cart, email your cart to yourself, the items that you selected. I think this is quite important. And considering the fact that people are in sort of a fear that the products that they are interested in might run out of stock, they want to buy everything quite quickly, and things like express checkout, guest checkout become just essential. So if you can provide those quick payment methods, you definitely should. You should not force people to register to make a purchase, because this is when you can lose a potential customer. So this would be very important, seeing that a lot of people make the choice on what they're going to buy before the sale hits. And in terms of
interesting,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just an interesting point, Olga. I wanted to get your opinion on it. I heard that also it's not suggested to use the coupon codes during the Black Friday as such. What do you think about it?
Yeah, well, we have not tested it. But from the personal perspective and from the research, quite a lot of research points out that many people become more annoyed of having to enter those coupon codes and like having to go either to email or looking into header. You kind of create one more step in the checkout, and they want to get the item as fast as they can while the stock lasts. And, you know, I think when we look subconsciously, when we think Black Friday, everybody is imagining those videos on YouTube where people are just storming into the stores, and you kind of think, subconsciously you have this fear that there's like millions of people now on this website trying to buy something, especially if you bring it even step further and you implement different plugins that show like 5 people are viewing this item. It is low on stock. So yeah, I think reducing the number of steps required to make a purchase and not having people to enter something manually, different codes, it's only going to make it easier for customers to buy and for you to earn money.
Good topic, FOMO, or fear of missing out. And it's been a buzzword in the marketing industry for quite some time. And I am sure that there are some listeners as well who are very much aware of this strategy. And this thing really works in a lot of the cases. Are there any good practices, bad practices that should be used with FOMO, applying FOMO for marketing, especially on Black Friday?
I can continue, I guess.
I can comment on
can.
one thing. What I saw and successful for some merchants. They're actually, again, it's relating to the emailing list. So they are first of all getting the customers into certain VIP lists for the acquisition channels, let's say through the Facebook campaigns, PPC campaigns, or whatever. And then they're actually opening the Black Friday deals and their store only for this limited number of the people. So they have, let's say, they would have access to the store 1 hour before everyone else. So they would have access, or maybe 24 hours before everyone else, and they would be able to be the first ones. Basically, they would be the first ones in the queue. That's a great tactic to be leveraged to get that emails into your database, and overall to figure out how you can give the feeling for the customers to be the first one in the queue, not to miss out. That works in its best during the Black Friday.
I suppose the usages of FOMO also will depend on the brand, right? And what's your brand style? Depending on that, you might actually want to maybe avoid really going into maybe booking.com type of usage of FOMO, right? And you want to keep it maybe more down. But at the same time, I think people need to understand, obviously, that and they understand it already, that deals are running out. That's why it's Black Friday, right? So that's why it's the one day which should be the biggest sales of the year. And in terms of what Gleb was mentioning as well about really focusing on your top customers. Kind of there is the Pareto principle everywhere, right? That your top maybe 20% customers are actually driving 80% of your revenues. And even if you look at maybe top 5% of customers, you definitely want to have maybe some special treatment for them. And also, I would say that the Black Friday deals themselves, they really need to focus on actually your existing customer base and your existing marketing list. It's maybe not the really right time to actually go for new customers. That's or growing your customer list, which is also still good, but it is the time when the competition for ad space is the biggest, right? So the costs actually to do advertising for cold audiences during Black Friday, it's really out of this world. So you should be prepared for that already with your email audience lists and really focusing on your existing customers.
Yeah.
Speaking also, oh yeah, Lina, please.
Yeah, as Ren started to speak about cold audience and warm audiences, etc. I would say it also a lot depends on your budget. So first of all, obviously, like how big brand you are, how much you can spend, and also what's your product. So based on that, there might be different strategies that might work for one and might not work for another. So one important thing to remember is, like, don't forget that testing is super, super important and super, super accessible in digital marketing and advertising in particular. So, and what we can do, first of all, if we are also speaking about this FOMO, one thing that to capitalize on is try to test pre-sale if you haven't done it yet. So 1 week in advance, see if you can catch those people who are actually looking for some, like, to make a purchase early on, so don't miss out when stock runs out. So you can target those ones. At the same time, you can test things. So when you actually have those 3 days, when you need really to do like your best to get sales up, that you already know what works. So that's important. That's something you can actually start already in November. So basically you have whole months, because if you are looking at Google Trends, for example, and how people are searching when they start to search for gifts for boyfriends, gifts for girlfriends, moms, dads, etc., etc. It's exactly November, like beginning of November. So this is the moment when, yeah, as we I think mentioned before, that's this time when you can already like give some stuff to them and see if it works. So by testing, actually, you'll be able to minimize your costs during the Black Friday. So yeah, remarketing, it's becomes trickier, but still it's also important to capitalize on during the Black Friday. So make sure that, yeah, you do your homework in the beginning of November, if possible, if budget allows to, and then find your audience and target it during the Black Friday.
Actually, that's also a very good point on the gifts. I think quite a lot of predictions and research points out that people will be buying a lot of gifts in the Black Friday. So in terms of like user experience on the site and product positioning, it might be worth also to have some gift guides, I don't know, gift packaging if you're able to do it, or like gift notes that people can do, and also promoting gifts if the product that you're selling can be gifted. So this is also something quite big.
We live in an extremely fast pace and demanding environment, and especially in the US, the same day delivery, next day delivery is a staple by now, and expectations on the service and the speed are high, at least, and any average of our lives. But how does that translate to Black Friday? Are people still as demanding? Do people still want to get the delivery the next day, even if they buy it with 50% off? Do they still expect the shipping to go out the same day, and or can there be more flexibility because there is sale and because it's a special offer? You know, Olga, maybe you can take this one.
I can also maybe chip in, and then maybe Olga can continue.
Oh,
but
I
would say most likely the customer expectations don't change that much. But then again, if you have certain limitations of stock or inventory, or there is a risk that something could take longer, obviously a lot of things need to be shipped after this this period, right? Because there are a lot of sales happening. So delays are quite frequent, what we see. And one thing to actually ensure that the customer experience is not negatively affected, I would say, is to also have actually communication, clear communication, that there can be maybe shipping delays, so that it doesn't come as a surprise. Because if people don't generally like surprises, besides there maybe surprising them on their birthday, right? So I would say it might be a good idea, depending on your business and depending on your specifics, to actually communicate that maybe in the order success email that hey, we'll try our best, but listen, there might be some delays in actually getting the product to you. I would say that would be important, but I would say, and customers probably also partly expected, especially if they are experienced in Black Friday shopping. So last year's also due to COVID and due to other aspects, I think there were even bigger problems related to this. That there were also major effect on actually getting things produced and getting your supply line working correctly, right? So this year maybe it's going to be better. hopefully, and at least that's what I would expect. And then probably also there is not so much talk in general about different kinds of supply chain issues in kind of media or whatever. So people will probably expect to still receive their purchases quite soon.
All right. Alda, from your end, should we communicate deviations through user experience? Is that something that the merchants should get prepared for?
Yeah, I think Renis covered it very well. I mean, as long as you set the right expectation to the customer, they should be happy. I mean, from the personal experience, I was once buying in the holiday season, and I was buying as a gift, and decided not communicate that there would be delays like up to 2 weeks in shipping. And I was like communicating with customer support every other day on where is my package, and I did not want to return to that store. But once again, I had completely another experience as a customer myself when I ordered the product and it was not shipped on time. And the store itself, they sent me a beautiful email apologizing, saying, hey, we're also people like COVID restrictions. We have some issues in our factory. We're very sorry. Here's your like 15% discount for the next purchase. Please bear with us. And on the human level, I was like, of course, I get you guys. No worries. I'm going to wait. But when they promise and do not deliver, this when it gets sad, and this is when you might lose the returning customer. So I say be transparent about your capabilities. Better to under promise and over deliver than otherwise.
I think you touched a good point as well, actually, about customer support in general, and how you should prepare in terms of customer support for Black Friday, because you don't only need to have your development team maybe ready to actually deal with some things, or maybe even less. They should be less ready than actually your customer support, because obviously with more and more traffic on your site during the sales, there's going to be more and more questions coming in. And live chats are a great thing, but we shouldn't think that maybe asking for the customer's email and then answering on their question 2 days after the Black Friday would be a good experience. So you really need to be ready with your customer support and make sure that also they are aligned on the message, on how they communicate maybe expected delivery times. You have to have actual people ready to answer questions, because it can be a deal breaker for people when making a purchase or on checkout. So you don't want that. You don't want people to, for example, go away on the checkout if they don't understand fully maybe the shipping costs or the expected delivery times, or have some questions about the products. So that's I guess one thing, to really have your people, your customer support ready, motivated, full with maybe inventory of energy drinks to go get through this period, because that can also make a difference.
Yeah, and another point on that, I think that small thing, but you can analyze the requests you had last Black Friday, what people were actually asking you, and just updating your FAQ page more towards the sales period, like about the delivery or particular terms of the sale. You know, sometimes some like there can be some changes in the return policy. It might become shorter because it is a sales period, or if you buy like in a certain packaging, it becomes the restrictions, some certain restrictions may apply towards the return. So there are different cases related to the sales. And if you know the set of questions that people are asking each year, it might be worth also updating some FAQ sections on your site as well. Quite simple thing to do and quite fast, frankly.
We all know that Black Friday as an event is just the start, and then there's typically the Black Friday end, and then we have the Cyber Monday, and after Cyber Monday, in a lot of the cases, the Christmas sales start kicking in, and then there's Christmas, and then there's New Year, and then there's January when everything stops. So it's a really long and extended time of different sales and proposals, offers. What would be the better strategy in your opinion, guys? Is it Is it like, when do you have the biggest sale? Is it the Black Friday? Is it the Cyber Monday? Is it the whole weekend? Is it the whole month? Like, is it the whole year around? Do I ever get to make actual money again? There are different strategies that I have seen where companies apply a bigger discount on a particular day. Some do it for Black Friday, some do it for Cyber Monday, some do it for the whole weekend, some do it for the whole month. Should it be consistent? Should it change? Do we need to communicate that beforehand, or what's the plan here? How do you communicate all these complex, well, in a way, complex topics with a consumer, with a end user, so nobody gets upset in the end? I wouldn't want to buy something on Black Friday and see that it gets cheaper on Cyber Monday, or vice versa, or otherwise I will feel like I'm losing out. But how do you deal with that? Lena, maybe you can try and take this one.
Is the best one probably to answer this. I would just want to mention that you really shouldn't go into Black Friday sales with like a 15% off or 20% off if you're doing that every Friday or every weekend, basically, or every month you have that sale or even bigger. What is Black Friday? It is expected to be the biggest sale of the season, right? So also your customers, a lot of them will be waiting for this period. And if they come to the site and see that, oh, they offer 15% discount, they might be a bit disappointed, right? So yeah, that's just maybe my small point. And there's also option not to do even sales, right? But then also you probably should communicate that in one way or another, that, hey, we don't support maybe Black Friday, we don't like it, etc. So as a brand, we will not do any sales now, etc. So that's also possible, but again, it's about communication, I think.
And there are brands who don't do any sales at all, ever. Like, have you seen Apple doing a sale? I don't think I have. and there are other brands too. But yeah, Lena, what do you think about these extended sales, and how does it affect us? Because also from the traffic and the traffic acquisition and SEO perspective, because there are spikes in traffic and else, does that affect the larger integrity of the site as such? Is it good to have a lot of traffic coming, or is it bad to have a lot of a big traffic spike and then people stopping to come on to the site?
Yeah, it's there's always this answer, it depends. So let's start with the question, and I think that kind of defines how you approach Black Friday, is what you want to get out of it as a merchant. So basically, do you want to get rid of stock, for example, but you have some maybe not best-selling products and you really want to sell them? Well, there is your chance. Perhaps you actually want to increase order value, average order value, that actually might be a bit more trickier and can be obtained with creating some bundle deals, or pay for 2, get 3, or something like that. Or maybe you have such profit margin that indeed you cannot even offer discounts. So I guess, yeah, we should start with that question. And once you have answer to that, and then you can see if you need Black Friday, first of all, and how to differentiate it from other holiday sales, etc., and what's happening throughout the year. Because indeed, this is an opportunity to capitalize on situation that people are ready to buy. They are ready to buy. And I would say even, I think that's something that we have seen, at least with few of merchants that we are working with, who are not running any promo on Black Friday, that even then you get some increase in sales just because people automatically come and buy. So yeah, it's like, I think it's a bit crazy behavior in a way. And yeah, like for some people, indeed, it might even happen that your products that you want to buy are not on sales on Black Friday. Maybe it's actually might be sad for clients as well. But I would say it really depends from business to business, because in some cases, again, you might not even want to run sales if you want to keep, I don't know, some certain brand positioning, for example. or maybe if you are working in some sensitive industry where it wouldn't be even appropriate to have sales on your products, for example. B2B is another sometimes trickier topic for Black Friday. So I would say, yeah, it depends. It really depends.
How do people decide should they commit or should they not? What's the procedure? Should they talk to a consultant? Should they talk to an SEO specialist? Should they talk to a marketeer? What's your suggestion on that?
Sorry, I missed the beginning of your question. Exactly.
How do merchants decide whether they should commit or not for the sales in the process? Like, who do they talk to?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say it starts within the organization, within the company, and you need to understand, because branding and like this branding layer of whether we run sales or not, it's something that only you can define internally, or maybe you have some, let's say, third-party consultants that actually support you in that. So I would say from branding perspective, it's something you define internally. Then regarding promo, you mentioned definitely, yeah, you can consult with the PPC specialists, with advertising agencies, etc., to understand whether it makes sense for you to run ads, how much it will cost for you, and how much you might get back. So, and evaluate your case if you haven't done it yet on the individual basis. For SEO, though, it's a bit different story. So I would say it's not so much about, let's say, some campaign, but rather, yeah, it's also comes into this topic of preparation throughout the year and making sure that your website is well optimized, that running smoothly from SEO side, when actually people will be willing to find you on Google using Black Friday plus your brand name. They actually can find, it can be some landing page, it might be product listing page, this Black Friday. There are some specific tips and tricks to making sure that it happens, and for sure SEO specialists can advise on this one. As well, how you can tackle and target people who maybe haven't thought about your brand, and also attract them via SEO. What is more efficient? Well, hard to say. Again, it depends on the specific case.
So another thing, if I may add to that, is actually take a look at what your competitors did last year. Did they run Black Friday or not? Are they planning to run Black Friday or not? Do this market research, because if you have a very competitive niche, you might miss out if they are running some sort of promotions and people are going to go there. But if you have a very branded product and a strong brand, then of course it's easier. It's just whether it's in the brand DNA or not to do sales. But if you're rather a reseller or a distributor of some sort of products and you're questioning this decision, it might be worth looking at what your competition is doing, because you don't want to send your potential customers that might come to you to go to another store because they have discounts.
And of course, you also need to apply the common sense. So if you know and are aware that your infrastructure is not ready to take the load of the people, maybe better not to run sales, because you're going to disappoint people. If you don't have the stock to sell or you don't have the stock to ship, maybe potentially it's better not to do the sale, because you will disappoint people. And like Olga already mentioned, if you disappoint your customers, you might actually lose the trust of them, and then you kind of you're digging a hole for yourself by losing a repeating customer who just gets disappointed by some not very well planned actions. And yes, of course, so common sense always applied.
Mari, I would just maybe add that one simple way of not disappointing your client could be also like option again. not run sales, not to offer discount, but for example, offer free shipping for certain products or starting from certain order value. So it also, you can play around this. So still you get give some tiny bonus to people, but not necessarily run discounts.
Or add a donation to charity, or do something else that's not leaving a direct impact. Because when people save money, they still expect that, but then they actually can feel generous and do something that they're adding some else. Yeah, of course, there are always some alternatives.
You actually had a similar also question in the chat about how not to disappoint your customers, and how not to disappoint those that will maybe buy on the Monday of that week and then not know about the sales that are going to happen on Friday, and then feel bad that they missed out on those sales. And again, we talked about it quite a bit. It's about communication, right? So be clear. Even if you're not doing sales, write your explanation of it as a brand, and do it across your channels, right? So your social media, or maybe your emails. So send an email to your customer base and explain that, hey guys, we're not going to run the ads, or run the campaigns. Actually, this year, we're not going to have major sales, etc., etc. So, and then the other, I guess, question was about how to also keep sales going before Black Friday and not have consumers actually just waiting and not doing any sales on the Friday, or before the Friday. So that's actually a good question. Who has an answer? I don't actually really have a bulletproof answer for that.
I can answer that from my more than 10 years of online retail experience, because it was a trend that we noticed. So we were drumming up for the Black Friday, and when you're following the good examples and you are proactively advocating, you're going to be running sales to your regular customer base. You're doing it on your social media channels, you are doing it on your email marketing lists, you are perhaps also trying to acquire new potential clients by some PPC campaigns. So you are technically already creating an environment where people are holding back with their purchases, and they are not buying the product the day before and 2 days before. But that's a concession that you need to be aware of, and that's a concession that you're making. So well, hopefully you're planning your Black Friday sales that you still turn around some profit, or either on the purchase itself, or some upsells or after sales. And there's an actual strategy there. So if you have these mechanisms in place, then you're in a good spot, because you're not just making a sale with a profit, but you are potentially acquiring a bunch of new brand advocates. You're potentially acquiring a new bunch of people that are going to be repeating customers. So with that in mind, it's a concession that must be made. But if you feel like you are not ready to concede, then maybe this is not a strategy for you. Maybe either you don't need to do the sales at all, or you can do, of course, some flash sale, some surprise sale. But you also have to bear in mind that you might upset some other people who did the purchase just the day before, because they checked your site, they said nothing about the sale, so they've been waiting and wanting the product, realizing that there's no sale, buying the day early, and then you release the sale. And again, so I have to, like, you can't please all sides at every time, and there will be always someone who might not be as happy as you want them to be. But yeah, that's the sad truth and sad reality. But
there's also going to be always people that, or the segment that is not really price sensitive, that don't care, that have the money. That if I need the boots, I buy the boots and I forget about it. I won't go to the store and check what's the price tomorrow, because you can just disappoint yourself in that way.
I have a bakery next door to my house that I honestly think is too cheap. And every time I go there, I buy more stuff than I need, just because I feel sorry for them, and just because they're so good, I don't want them to shut down. So yes, it's true. Sometimes you just want to, you're ready and prepared to pay the premium, and don't really care about it at all. So very true. Okay, audiences. So how do you treat different audiences in terms of Black Friday sales? Of course, there are different expectations in different locations. Let's start with the locations. Europe versus America versus Asia versus other markets. Should international brands think differently about different regions? Olga?
I think they certainly should, especially this year, considering that in Europe, the inflation and the heating season is a very hot topics. People become more cautious about how they spend their money and what they spend it on. So there's going to be less impulsive buying. I think there's going to, as Lena mentioned early in our conversation, there's going to be people who have planned time ahead that they want to buy certain products, so they can wait for the sale to get a better deal for it. But it's not going to be a very emotional purchase. It's going to be more, I would expect that this season we would have more rational purchases that were thought of in advance. So this is going to be about the Europe, I would expect, whereas in USA, which is not that affected by the geopolitical situation currently happening in the world, there we could expect a little bit more those emotional purchases. And then there's also how you can communicate and how you can address both of those audiences in your marketing messaging, and how you attract them to the store. A simple example would be if maybe for the Europeans, it's going to be even more important to understand how much they're actually saving. Basically just showing in the checkout, in the shopping cart, you saved X amount, and maybe even have some interesting analogy that this X amount that you saved is equivalent of, I don't know, like 10 kilos of dog food that you can go and donate to the shelter and help, like, I don't know, make world a better place. So kind of having also this, having them to find the reasons why they should make a purchase, kind of help them defend their purchasing decisions, and also kind of communicate that it was a rational decision, help them to rationalize it in your marketing communication.
I just maybe wanted to note as well that, yeah, for sure, Europe has way bigger inflation this year than the US. But actually in the US, there's also quite unprecedented inflation, and then the people in the US are quite angry about it. So especially the energy prices have gone up, right? So the gas prices, and in the US, if I'm not mistaken, the inflation is around 8% year on year. So it is still hitting people on their wallets, right? So also there, from e-commerce perspective, the year started really well with a huge growth in terms of year over year, but it has died down there as well. So certainly the activity seems to be lower there as well. While of course in Europe, inflation in some places is 30% more. So we have it a bit more tougher. But I would say that, yeah, also the US market is quite affected as well. And I would say that probably they're also holding out for the deals quite the same way, or maybe even more than so for the next year or from the last year. But I would still expect actually the growth in terms of like overall activity during Black Friday, but the growth will probably be lower than the years before in terms of e-commerce activity on Black Friday.
I would also note that while when we are speaking about this macroeconomical KPIs, etc., and overall what's going on, this type of things most likely will affect really global brands who are operating like throughout the world and really like are massively bought and all like are feeling these big things happening. Obviously, it all depends on your industry as well. But if we are speaking about small brands, with marketing, you still can achieve a lot, and still you can kind of fight against the overall tendency. Either you are in the United States, either you are in Europe, and still by, again, testing, my favorite word today. So testing, approaching different audiences, different messaging, different visuals, just craft your let's say maybe not ideal campaign, but kind of the closest to ideal, and actually outperform what you did last year, even though like everything around you goes down. So I would say it's like, well, just want to bring some hope to smaller businesses that while a lot of things may happen around, it's like it's all on your marketing team.
Smaller businesses is a good topic. What can you do on a budget? I mean, of course, if you have massive marketing budgets, it's fantastic. You know, you can you can drum it up early on. You can create audiences, etc. But what can you do on a budget? What would be your go-to strategy for small merchants, for the family business, and especially at these really tough times with recession kicking in, with ever growing bills, and obviously the small merchants are going to get hit the hardest. What can they do today to get success on the Black Friday?
Well, I would say then it's usually like there's this triangle that you can get only 2 out of 3. There is like cheap, fast, and high quality. So if you don't have money, then well, you might need to invest time. And actually, I would say for small merchants, start your homework now, almost now, for the next Black Friday. And because I think this keyword we mentioned already a few times this evening, it's about email marketing. And this is something you can do throughout the year. And you can collect emails. You can make sure that customers who bought from you are actually in your database, and you can reach out to them when there is a right time. So it still might, well, it costs some money for sure, but just do your homework. So that's the cheapest, let's say, and most efficient way. Then when it comes to advertising, again, try to narrow your audience, focus on those, for example, you can focus on audience that were buying from you already. So if you are a good brand with good reputation, then it would be actually a very good strategy, because you might bring back like your loyal customers again. Cold audiences, obviously, it will cost a lot of money, as Reins mentioned previously. So start with the closest cycle and then expand it. I would say like this.
We're going to be wrapping up really soon. We're going a little bit over time, and some of us are going to have to go soon. But if you in the audience, if we have some questions, I mean, we can take 1 or 2 or maybe 3 questions, depending on how quickly we can wrap up. But yeah, if you have any questions, just drop them in a chat, and we'll try and attend those. Yeah. Meanwhile, Reins, any quick tips on low budget cases from you?
Again, talking to your existing customers. So using your existing organic social media. So the people that are already following, already engaging with your brand kind of ambassadors. And really, I would say it's about making them happy during this time. That's, I guess, the really main priority. And only then you think about big profits and big revenues. So because the people, again, Pareto principle, those few percent, those 20% people, make sure to make them happy during this time. And of course, if possible, think about how to expand your these 20, how to grow the pie, right? So that you can do that every year. Again, email marketing, SMS, it's still going to be a mess, right? It's going to be hectic during that period. Your email is going to be full with all the offers possible, right? Any website where you have purchased or signed up before, you will receive emails during this time. But still, it works. It works, especially if you're a good brand, especially if you have loyal kind of customers and loyal followers. Target them, I would say. And you should be more or less successful.
I think from a straightforward perspective, we can no longer think this is going to be a make it or break it event for any business. So either you have prepared on time, or you haven't. And if you haven't, you really have to keep your act straight. And we already discussed that small discounts don't work very well because people expect more on the Black Friday. If you can afford only to give a small discount, you really have to give it a premium fill. If you're that kind of brand. Or
Seems we lost Maris.
Yeah, it seems so. Interesting if we have any more questions, maybe from the audience.
There is one question in the Q&A section. Sorry, I'm not sure if it was already answered or not.
Yeah,
Tips.
it was. We kind of covered it.
Yeah, okay, covered. Then I guess no more for now.
Is it a month now? Is it? Oh no, it's 25th of November, right? Less than a month already. Lena, Olga, do you have already a wish list for what to buy on Black Friday?
I do. I hope there's going to be sale on the item I have laid my eyes on a couple of months ago, because it's rather an emotional purchase than a rational one that I need. So I'm waiting for discounts.
Are you buying an elephant finally?
No, I have. I mean, I have
Yeah.
adopted elephant.
Yeah.
But no.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, I think I will wrap up because Maris is out of connection. So I want to thank you very much for joining us and being with us and discussing this topic. It was very interesting to listen. At least I was listening. And have a great evening, everyone.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you. And good luck.
Thank you.
Friday.
We really hope that we
Yep.
managed to provide some, maybe at least few ideas for you to get better prepared. So good luck. Have successful holidays.